British MP assassinated. Murder declared act of terrorism. So I'm
All right.
saying
So for
terrorism
again,
instead of the bad word on the screen of violent radical extremism. Okay, so that's what I'm referring to. Sir David Amess, a conservative member of the British Parliament, died from multiple stab wounds on October 15th. He was holding an in person meeting with his local constituents in Essex when he was attacked with a knife. The suspect, Harbi Ali, a British citizen from a politically prominent Somali family, was immediately taken into custody. On October 16th, Deputy Assistant Commissioner Dean Haydon, the senior national coordinator for the counter-terrorism policing, officially declared Sir David Amess's murder as an incident of terrorism. The police believed that Ali was radicalized by al-Shabaab, a jihadist al-Qaeda offshoot in Somalia and Kenya. The Guardian reported that he was previously referred to an anti terror scheme that provides intensive support for individuals with terrorism vulnerability in 2014 and later discharged. A review of these counterterrorism programs has been issued with the potential for increased police involvement. So, like I said, I'm first of all, like rest in peace, and I hope I can't imagine what his family is going through. But I waited a little while to cover this news. As I said, it happened almost 2 weeks ago because I was waiting for more information to come out and to actually get more clarity about the nature of this event. Because a lot of people brought this to my attention right away, but I didn't want to rush in saying, "Oh, this is terrorism," blah blah blah, until like there had been a lot more that had been reported on. So that's why we're covering this a little bit later. Um, this is obviously a horrible thing that happened. Um, so in England, when a MP meets with their constituents, like they call that a surgery for some reason. And so I was watching an interview where several other either current MPs or former MPs were talking about this, and they were saying that this, in many ways, to them felt like an attack on democracy itself, because a lawmaker's ability and duty to go meet with his constituents in person and hear about their concerns and what matters to them and how the nation is ruled is an attack on the democratic process and the process of the rule of law. Um, I thought that was really interesting. And well, actually, I want to hear what Armin has to say first. Armin, what do you think about this?
I mean, what do you think? I think about this is horrible, right? But I just want to also make sure that we're not being used when we're covering this as for people who have a different kind of agenda. I don't know, but if I highlight that it could be used, then I might be. See, this is the problem, right? So this is a horrible crime and it needs to be highlighted. And when you're highlighting it, there are some other people, especially on the far right, that want to use the highlighting of the news for their own agenda, right? But then if you point that out, then it seems like you're deflecting from actually just covering how bad the news is. So I don't know how to meet that balance on talking about things that need to be talked about and also trying to avoid being used like that. But also by highlighting that you don't want to be used like that, then you seem like you're making excuses or you're trying to direct attention away from the crime that is being committed. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like I don't know where the balance is.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I think this is also compounded by the fact that um, the suspect is a British Somali, And so when I was watching news coverage about this, like even members of parliament were saying, like, we need to be sure not to stigmatize or hold this against the Somali community in England, because I think they have the exact same concerns that you do. What I thought was really interesting was so the UK has two major counter-terrorism programs, and they're called Prevent and Channel. And I believe Channel is the one that's more intensive. And what's interesting about these programs is that they are supposed to be referral based, and they're not supposed to they're supposed to involve the police to a very minimal extent. So the whole idea is that if you're participating in this program for people who are terrorism vulnerability, that you're not going to face any sort of consequences for this, and you're not going to be criminalized for engaging in this program. It's supposed to get you out of any sort of criminal situations. It's not supposed to actually prosecute you as a criminal or anything. And because of this incident and the fact that he went through one of these programs and was discharged many years later as not a threat, and his case was closed, there have been calls to make sure the police are a lot more involved in these counter-terrorism programs. But there are people that are concerned that that's actually going to make these programs less effective, because the community is not going to trust that they can engage in these kinds of programs without it coming at a serious detriment to themselves. Oh, should I read the comments that are here?
Well, read this one, and then I'm gonna.
Oh, Secularity saying that was spot on, Susanna. Well, thank you. Puya's asking, what was the motive here? What was the reason he was targeted specifically? I actually wasn't able to find a lot of information on why it was Sir David Amess, or Amess specifically. What's interesting, though, is that the suspect actually, he's not from the area. He traveled from London to Essex to go to, I think the area is called Lay-on-Sea, and go do this, strongly suggesting that this was premeditated. And according to witnesses, after he committed the murder, he just waited on scene. He just waited for the police to arrive. He didn't try to run away. And one witness reported that he just looked like dead in the eyes, not very reactive, which was
so just. Which was no, you finish your thing.
No, I mean that it's just creepy and very strange.
Yeah. So let's just get. I'm just going to answer a few things. Is Islam? Can Islam be blamed for this? Probably. It seems like it's pretty directly related to religion, right? Unless it's proven otherwise. Our socioeconomic factors in migration, immigration, and ostracization and segregation are all still. These could be a factor.
I mean,
yes,
he was rich. He was from a rich family, apparently. Sorry.
Yeah, I said could be a factor. Okay, so there's multiple elements. Okay, it's religion, socioeconomic factors, psychological, mental health issues, right? If it is any of these, it doesn't mean that the other ones are not a factor. Sometimes people try to highlight socioeconomic factors as a way to suggest that it's not a religion. Many times it's often a mix of each one, multiple factors, right? So if it is socioeconomics, it doesn't mean it's not religion, right? It could be religion and socioeconomic factor. If it is mental issues, it doesn't mean religion is not a factor. It could be mental issues and religion came together and made this possible, right? So so when that out of the way, is this allowable according to Islam or not? I think maybe yes and no, right? Depends on how you look at it, right? Technically, if you're a Muslim living under non-Islamic law, non-Islamic ruling in the house in the land of non-Muslims, technically you're supposed to follow their rules. So if you want to focus on that, this is technically not Islamic. Um, but it also could be considered Islamic because this guy was actively responsible for making laws. Like this guy could be considered like a person that is at war. Like again, I'm not saying that, okay, but I'm saying that they could describe this as a person that is actively at war with the ummah, at war with the Muslim community. So this was like a um if you describe it like that, maybe you could just they could think about why in Islamically this would be justified, right? So again, it's flexible enough for you to use enough hadith and interpretations to go either way, right? So whether there's no direct answer for whether or not this is allowed by Islam or not. Okay. Just last thing. Do you want to add anything before I just add the last thing?
This
Really
made me
quickly,
really
I'm gonna add.
sad. Like, I actually kind of cried when I heard about this. I don't know why. I'd like never heard
Oh,
about this guy beforehand. It's just really terrible. Um, yeah,
yeah.
even though there was a lot of stuff I didn't agree with him on politically, like I just think about what this does to like the local community, obviously his family, like everyone that knew him. There are huge implications in terms of the safeties of MPs around the UK now, and there's long conversations, or this has reignited that whole conversation um, about the security of lawmakers to just like go about society and live their life, because obviously, and it's just in a nation, we need those who are involved in governance at this high of a level to be safe, um, so that we can continue the business of government. And I also think a lot about like people from the community of the perpetrator and how this is going to affect their life, and how there's going to be people who collectivize that guilt and put it on them or treat them differently because of the situation. And it's that's not fair either, and that's a horrible implication for British society as well. Yeah, those were my thoughts on it.
That's very well said. Last point I want to just make is that don't use stories and like these to get and come up with a conclusion of what the general trends are like. Whether or not you're like a lot of people look at stories like this. I think Ian Lecter was doing the same thing. They're like come up with conclusions that are like, oh my god, crimes rates are going up, or like immigration seems to be having a huge impact on crime rates. You cannot use stories like this to come up with conclusions like that. You know what I mean? Like you have to look at not just statistics, because we are not really good at interpreting statistics, but actual research based on those statistics, right? So do not like think like, oh my god, look at this, this proves to me that crime rates are I'm not saying they're not going high, okay, and I'm not saying immigration is or is not an influence. I'm just saying you can't use anecdotal evidence like this as a way to come up with your conclusions. All right. Anyways, we should move to the next news.
Yes, sir.
Can we clap?
No. But this is going to
Oh,
be
okay.
a very interesting news that I think you will find very interesting to cover and talk about.
Secularity, you're such a good source of positive energy for us during the stream. Thank you for
I
all
know,
your
what a
comments.
wholesome soul. Secular Rarity is saying, yes,
Yeah.
both very good points. This is a terrible thing, but we can't draw big conclusions from this one thing. I
Aw.
agree. Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe. Link in the description below.